I am a founding board member of the Utah Valley Astronomy Club, a 501c3 nonprofit that partners with state and national parks, as well as schools and other public organizations, to help run their astronomy programs. In May of 2017, I was invited to help run a star party hosted by Fremont Indian State Park. While attending the festivities for the star party with my son Jacob, we hiked through the pathways of FISP, noting the numerous petroglyphs carved across the large rock bluffs that formed the park. Quite by accident, we approached one petroglyphic panel just at the right time. A shadow was cast upon it by the rock protrusion above it, and I watched the shadow slowly move upwards as I observed the petroglyph. This phenomenon only occurs a few hours each day throughout the summer months. Further, this petroglyph caught my eye because it was very different than the others I had seen. This petroglyph is a very large geometric form anchored by a large sun wheel motif and composed of several different and interrelated symbols and dots. Within a few minutes, I found myself counting the dots and lines of the petroglyph. The first thing that stood out was the sun wheel motif divided into 12 wedges. One of the wedges has 11 lines carved into it. When counting these lines, the hair on the back of my neck stood on end. I perhaps have two advantages over the average tourist viewing these petroglyphs. One, I am an amateur astronomer, and two, I hold a doctorate in comparative myth and religious traditions from Pacifica Graduate Institute out of California. I've spent years studying ancient oral traditions, and I know that most oral cultures keep exact lunar calendars. Agrarian cultures also keep solar calendars. In fact, I became an amateur astronomer during my graduate studies because I kept running into cosmological motifs embedded in the cultures and religions of antiquity, and I needed a framework to understand these motifs. Over the years of study, I have become convinced that oral cultures, cultures without writing, used the natural landscape as part of a mnemonic storehouse, and the sky itself served as a sort of printing press for oral minds. Oral peoples encode certain memories onto the stars, sun, and moon, so that when they rise in certain configurations, the society is informed as to when to perform certain rituals, tell certain myths, and perform cultural functions associated with their agriculture, hunting, as well as other concerns. As an amateur astronomer who studies ancient cultures, I knew that most cultures keep a lunar calendar based off the synodic month. A synodic month is 29.5 days and is the time it takes for the moon to go through all its phases: new, waxing crescent, full, and waning crescent. The math is very simple. The difference between 12 synodic lunar months and one solar year is 11 days. Could the sun wheel motif be displaying a lunar year in its 12 wedges that is being reconciled with a solar year in those 11 lines? At the time of my first observation of this petroglyph, I knew nothing of the Fremont or their rock art. But within a few minutes of first seeing this petroglyph with its sun shadow, I hypothesized the following. 1. The sun wheel of 12 wedges and 11 lines was a solar lunar count. The 12 wedges each represented one lunar month, while the 11 lines represented the difference in days between a synodic lunar year and one solar year. 2. The shadow probably was incorporated into the design of the petroglyph, and as it moved across the rock face, it may have indicated when to start a ritual cycle that was part of the Fremont calendar. 3. The calendar was probably oriented towards the summer solstice. Though in oral cultures, both the summer and winter solstices hold supreme cosmological and religious functions, and therefore the glyph may have been utilized in ways that predicted the entire solar year. 4. I could be wrong on all of the above. Knowing the time, energy, not to mention the cost, of studying this glyph and testing my hypotheses would be great, I had no real inclination to start a study to try to prove or disprove my thesis. However, I had an experience elsewhere in this canyon that was quite profound, and I will talk about that in another video. But this experience would not leave me alone. And a few weeks after my star party at Fremont Indian State Park, I decided to make a formal study of at least a couple of the sites in the park. The first thing I did was contact a friend and associate, John McHugh, who is a trained archaeologist, has spent time on digs in Petra in Syria, and served as a contract archaeologist in Utah for 4 years. He holds a master's in Near Eastern Studies, but has also studied Southwestern archaeology and ethnology for years. I asked John to be on my newly formed research team, which, at the moment, included me and him if he would accept. He did, and already McHugh has discovered some amazing things in this park. One discovery we made together, and it changed the entire way I view all the petroglyphs. Several more trips to the canyon, and I have uncovered something that is simple, elegant, and yet grand in its conceptual scope of heaven and earth.